up, everybody? Charlie B back in the building. Welcome to Bizarroville, where everybody welcome. My last show about narcissism and Megan, well, not basically narcissism with Megan, but why she deals with it. It was okay. But I know y'all like Dr. Carmen Bryant. Y'all love this woman. Okay? And I do too, because she be kicking knowledge. Now, this is what I want to say. Please. I understand it's YouTube. And y'all have stuff to do. But please, listen to this woman talk at first, and then she's going to go into all what we need to go into. Okay? But I just want to show you that Charlie B tried to find the real ones. The real ones. You feel me? To tell you the truth. PhD Dr. Carmen Bryant. Now, you we coming in here with doctors, right? And we still got BTN members coming in here saying, no, she wrong, you wrong, Peanut game wrong, all y'all still wrong. How? How? So can y'all please, when it first starts, she's going to be talking about her last show, and she's going to be talking about how she's a real one, and she's not putting up with no mess. Okay? So let's get it, let's go. Great show. This is a great show. Like, comment, and subscribe. And the most thing I love y'all to do, please share this. Y'all know me. I love getting the word out. I love getting the word out. And when we hit 1 million views, oh, it's going down. Oh, Miss B wanted me to tell y'all, she wants me to film our yearly Juneteenth thing, all the fireworks and everything. So the shirt I had on jumped back, I don't know, 8 shows ago that said, firework technician, if I run, you run. Easter egg. That's my shirt I wear every year. If I start running, you better be behind me or it's going down, okay? So let's get into the show today with Miss Dr. Carmen Bryant. Let's get it, let's go, girl. Let them know how real you are, number one, and then let them know what's actually going on that farm. Let's get it, let's go. And this show, I think it's like 4 or 5 years ago, y'all. I can't remember. But I'm thinking this show was like when Tim started. Think about that one.
Everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Dr. Carmen Bryant, and I am your host of Overcoming Narcissist Abuse. Thank you so much to all the new subscribers that have joined me and this awesome rainbow tribe that we have. You guys are some very powerful people, and thank you so much for joining us. But the people here on this YouTube channel are very encouraging. Those that are not usually get blocked. So you guys already know, we know the rules here. But I wanted to, this video, I wanted to talk about cognitive dissonance. And I did a video before, but I wanted to go back and revisit it because of, I think it was one of the comments that was made. I think I was being rebuked. I think I was being chastised. But cognitive dissonance, denial, Stockholm syndrome, I wanted to talk about those. And so I wanted to address, one of the viewers that kind of chastised me for being insensitive toward narcissists, and that the fact that narcissists have been wounded, abandoned, and rejected, and how can you make a decision to leave and be like everybody else, and you need to stay and support them. Obviously, you haven't been through enough. You haven't reached your boiling point and said enough is enough yet. You haven't been abused enough for you to finally say enough is enough. And number two, I think also what you were saying was that I needed to teach coping skills on how to stay, because you want to stay in the relationship, and I need to help teach coping skills to help you to cope in the relationship. First of all, I am a trauma professional. My choice is to be a domestic violence advocate and to help those that have been traumatized. I have witnessed people that have been sexually brutally from the age of birth until they were teenagers. I have witnessed sexual even male, male, female, female. I know of the stories of a father, a mother in front of her young children and hacking her in pieces in front of them. I know of the story of the man pushing his wife over the balcony, I think stabbing her or shooting her, pushing her over the balcony in front of her young children. I know of people committing suicide before we had an opportunity to get to them. And then the after effects of people that were close to the individual and their reaction or their trauma around that. I have witnessed fathers and mothers who have lost their children to a narcissist and the children are being abused brutally. I have witnessed too much for me to help you stay in a domestic violent relationship. When I read that and put on my interpretation glasses, my understanding was that you want me to help you stay in a domestic violent situation so that you can cope and continue being abused. I can't do that. That's not why I'm here. So that's the wrong channel for you. You need to go find another channel that's going to help you change the narcissist and help you stay in a relationship. You haven't been through enough yet for you to finally say, bye boy. And so that's not what I'm here for. So this is why I wanted to address this issue, because cognitive dissonance, which is a psychological term for an individual struggling and the discomfort of having two conflicting opinions. One opinion or one thought is the fact that you're being abused and you're witnessing and you have, it's right in front of your face, and you know what this individual is doing. You know that they're abusing your kids. You know that they're abusing you. You know that you're being tormented, humiliated, and embarrassed, whatever it is, isolated, physically abused, sexually abused, coerced, intimidated, whatever, bullied. You know this on one hand. On the other hand is, but I love him or I love her and I can't leave, and we built this life together and we have children together, and what about the children? And so you have this conflicting opinion, the facts versus your emotions. And on the inside, you have this internal conflict going on. And so with that internal conflict, for an individual to come out and start poking at the sore spot or pointing at or highlighting the truth, it's the conflict you have on the inside, and you're wrestling with it on the inside, that most people who have been trauma bonded, in other terms, Stockholm syndrome, meaning that you have become so enmeshed with your tormentor that you're willing to fight on their behalf. You're willing, anytime someone highlights the truth about something, instead of you recognizing it, you are in denial and you're attack the person that's bringing out the truth. I can accept that. Not a big deal, because that's why I make the videos. Everybody is not in the same place as everybody that's on the YouTube channel. There are some people that are in denial. I had one subscriber saying, I was in denial. I knew the truth, so she was going through cognitive dissonance. I knew the truth, but every time you came on the video, I just couldn't handle the truth. And so I stayed away for a long time because I was in denial. But she said she returned, so I'm thankful she returned and she finally accepted this is what's going on. Because you have to remember that a narcissist, it doesn't matter what they have done or how good they have been to you, or I've seen the good in them and I've seen what they can and can't do. Everything that they do has an ulterior motive. Everything that they do is all about them. It has nothing to do with you. So the things that they do is all about, it's one-sided. It's a one-sided relationship. The biggest struggle that most people have is that I can't believe the relationship wasn't real. I did a video on that. I can't believe the relationship isn't real. You don't stay with an individual this many years and do this. And I know because the things that they said, because you're into your emotions. And so if you step back from your emotions and look at it logically, that's cognitive dissonance. Look at it logically, look at the facts. Look what like military, we said, it walks like a duck, it looks like a duck, smells like a duck, sounds like a duck, quacks like a duck. It's a duck. That is a duck. You can be all technical if you want to. Well, that's a Canadian geese. That's Canadian goose. That's a duck. Regardless, that's a duck. Looks like a duck. Has feathers like a duck. That's a picture that we see that look like a duck. So that obviously is a duck. And so a lot of times people struggle with cognitive dissonance. The Stockholm syndrome, as I said, is another term for like trauma bonding. They trauma bond you, and so they literally get your devotion. They enmesh you with them, where you fight for them, knowing that when you go home, you're traumatized. You'll cover up on their behalf because it's the fear of, if I leave, see the cognitive dissonance, if I leave, where am I going to go? If I leave, he or she's going to do this. If I leave, they have you bonded, like they have you fearful like that. I can't sustain myself. I can't do anything to help myself. I don't have a job. That's why they did it. That's why they made sure you never had finances. I really like this lady too. Her name is Christine. You probably have heard of her, Christine Louise D. Cannonville. And she has, if you go to her site, she's narcissisticbehavior.net. And she also has an ebook out, but I really like her. I like reading a lot of things that she writes because it really makes a lot of sense. And here she was saying, understanding cognitive dissonance in relation to narcissist abuse. And she said the same thing. Stockholm syndrome involves a victim paradoxically forming a positive relationship with their oppressor. It's called trauma bonding. That's the term. You kind of go back and forth. When victims of narcissistic are suffering from Stockholm syndrome, they are often seen by outsider as somehow having participated in some bizarre way that seems to support their abuse. However, to understand how trauma bonding occurs, it is especially relevant to understand what is involved in the decision-making and problem-solving process of the victim. The theory is known as cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance, which I just said a minute ago, is a term, psychological term, that describes the uncomfortable tension that results from having two conflicting thoughts at the same time, or from engaging in behavior that conflicts with one's belief. And so to argue or to protect that narcissist, yet on the other hand, the conflict is, but I know what they're doing, but I love them, and I'm going to cover, and I'm going to make sure that no one knows, because I'm going to work. See, a lot of people are in to save the narcissist. You can't save anybody that doesn't want to be saved. A narcissist does not have the capacity to look within. They don't want to look within because you're the problem. They're not the problem. And so it doesn't matter what you bring. That's why they don't last very long in counseling. I'm not going to say majority, every single person that I've ever had counseling sessions with, that I realize that I'm dealing with something other than post-traumatic stress or borderline personality. When I realize, okay, this individual has all the symptoms of narcissistic personality disorder, they normally didn't last very long. Number one, because they couldn't cross my boundaries, and they couldn't get me to worship the ground that they walked on, because the whole session pertained to them, me, how wonderful I am, all the things that I've done, and all the things, especially when I have couples that come in. Once I determine, and this is something that's taught in the academic, on academic levels in college setting, when you're learning the master's level, when you're learning counseling, or you have a counseling, you're trying to get a counseling degree to be a counselor, they tell you that if you have a couple that comes in and you realize that there's domestic violence, it is highly recommended you do not continue counseling with them, because everything that you say will be used against one or the other. And a lot of times they're traumatized even more, and they're not going to be honest with you to tell you what's really happening in that, in the relationship, because as soon as they walk out of your office, or if you, address the behavior by the abuser, 9 times out of 10, the victim will be abused again, will be tormented again. I've witnessed it over and over again, where I realized I will not continue counseling. You need to go to anger management. And I knew it was more than just anger management. You need to go to anger management, and you need some type of domestic violence support group and education on your situation. And so that's that cognitive dissonance that I'm talking about, when you're struggling between the two. So let me go. I'm getting ahead of myself. So let's look here. Let's look. So let's see. So most victims, she said, most victims living in a household where there's narcissistic abuse are living in a torturous war zone. A lot of you on here have said that you live in a torturous war zone where you're being tormented, your kids are being tormented, you're being abused, you're being misused. And a lot of times with those covert narcissists, this is what's going on in the home and nobody knows what's going on, but you're the crazy one. You're the one that doesn't have it all together. You're the one that has mental health issues because they're always going to point the finger back at you. You're the one who causes me to be this way. If you weren't like this, or if you didn't do this, or if you wouldn't always do this, then I wouldn't respond to you this way. I wouldn't react this way. It's because of you. No, everyone is responsible for their own reactions and their own responses. Everyone is responsible for their own behavior. A narcissist will not take responsibility or accountability of their behaviors. If they do, there's a reason behind it. There's always an ulterior motive. What purpose does it serve if I agree or do this or treat you this way? If they treat you well, if they treat you like they love you, that's that trauma bonding, that love bonding, that trauma bonding is I'm going to soothe that pain and I'm going to condition it, I'm going to rub it, put some healing balm on that, and then I'm going to torment you again. So it's that choice back and forth, up and down, where you just literally just connected. You've been traumatized to this individual. You are now addicted to that drug called the narcissist and that behavior. But most people are living in those that are victims of narcissistic abuse or recovered from it or survivors of it. You knew that you were living in a torturous war zone where all forms of power and control are used against you. Intimidation, emotional, physical, mental abuse, isolation, economic abuse, sexual abuse, coercion. There are even women that said that their abuser would try to torture their kids to force them to do what it is they wanted them to do. And so in order to protect the children, the women would comply to whatever the demands were of the tormentor. And then when they comply, the very first thing that the narcissist said to them was, "You're a sorry mother." Because if you put your children in harm's way, you're a sorry mother. Look at you. You're a sorry mother. You would even put your children in harm's way. So they know what they're doing. Let's see. Another thing that she was saying in here, where is it at? That the environment puts a victim in a dependency situation. So you're codependent, but you're dependent on that narcissist, especially if they've taken away your finances, or if you decided to give up your dreams and your plans, and you decided to be that housewife or that house husband, and support their dreams and undergird them as they're getting their education and doing. They did that for a reason, because once they get to where they're going, because they need you to do that, then a lot of you have been discarded, and then you have nothing. You have nothing under your belt. You have no education. You have no job. You have nothing. Everything belonged to them. And watch it, because a lot of times they also put property in their names. You are signing with them, but the property or homes or cars, everything is primarily in their name, so you can't get it, or their name alone. Let's see. What else? A lot of you have experienced extreme helplessness, which throws you in a panic and chaos. That's where that post-traumatic stress develops from. Being in an environment like that. It's like being on a war zone. And like the soldiers that are returning from a war zone, you guys are in a war zone, so why wouldn't you have complex post-traumatic stress disorder, or it's not regular, but post-traumatic stress and complex post-traumatic stress. Did a video on that too. But at the same time, you're living on eggshells. You're walking on eggshells. You're living in a anxiety-ridden environment where you never know what's going to happen. You don't know whether they're going to come in the house angry. You don't know if they're going to be agitated. You don't know if you're going to be abused. Someone has insulted them, or, it wasn't even an insult. It may have been, something that they didn't like about the product of their work. It may have been, reprimanded for something, but you catch the fly. So a lot of times what a victim will do, they will, they live their life making sure that you don't offend the narcissist. So majority of the time, don't say that, don't do that, that's going to make him or make her angry, no, I don't want anybody over, because you're embarrassed. You know what's going on. You're trying to cover because you're shame, and they use shame against you. And so a lot of times, a lot of victims will cover and they really come after you. Stop doing that. That upsets him, because you know the aftermath, and you know what's going to happen when you get home. It doesn't matter at job who made him mad, or who made her mad at work, or who didn't compliment her, or who didn't do that. When they're angry, it's like the full fury of their anger is on you, as if you did it. Let's see. And a lot of times, and it says here, she says it too, that in order to survive, the victim has to find ways of reducing their cognitive dissonance. Remember, it's that internal struggle. So you're fighting on the inside, knowing right from wrong, and you know what you're experiencing, but you're stressed. So it's an internal conflict on the inside of you, and you're very uncomfortable, and you feel uncomfortable when people point it out or highlight it or talk about it. And what happens is the strategy becomes justifying. So you'll justify their behavior. Well, you know she was abused when she was a child. Well, you know that he was neglected and rejected. Well, you know he's a foster child, or you know that he didn't have a good upbringing, or she, her mother did this to her, or her father molested her. And just because this stuff happens doesn't mean that they are entitled to abuse you too. It doesn't mean. So you begin to justify why you're staying, justify and protecting them because, don't treat them like that. Miss Carmen, don't talk about him like that. That is so insensitive. Okay, you haven't reached your boiling point. You haven't reached your point with a lot of people where either you're going to kill or her, or she's going to kill, or there you go. So it becomes one of those, survival. Either I'm going to get out because I'm going to hurt you, or you're going to hurt me, or you're going to hurt my children, or vice versa. You're going to kill me, or I'm going to kill you. And I've had enough, or you've gotten to a point where I can't do this anymore. I've lost everything. I've lost my home. I've lost myself. I've lost my beauty. I've lost my clothes. I've lost my job. I don't have any money. So you haven't reached that boiling point. Some women have lost an eye, have been burnt, have lost their health. Y'all, this is domestic violence. This is domestic violence. I don't help people stay in domestic violence. That's not what I do. And so I wanted to make sure that you understand what some of you are struggling with, but I can't believe because you're struggling internally. It's a fight on the inside. And majority of the time you're in denial, so you're trying to defend it. 1 minute is, I know what they do. Logically, I understand. And then the next minute is, but I love him or her. I've seen the good side. And so this is not something that's uncommon that I see. Let's see. So these are defense mechanisms, and a lot of times they're even unconscious, that you just do it out of habit. The victim is unaware of using them in the moment, and all they are intent on is surviving the madness they find themselves in. And so that's why I encourage you guys to connect with a trauma professional, a trauma therapist. And I wanted to let you guys know there's a therapist, for those of you that are in California. This lady is a licensed clinical social worker. If you go to Good Therapy, look up Andrea Schneider. Well, I'm German, so Schneider. But Andrea Schneider, she's a licensed clinical social worker and a psychotherapist. She also does trauma work and EMDR, and she's in Pleasant Hill, California. I think she said that she was moving her office to the Bay Area, but if you look on Good Therapy, there's also a link. You can email her, and there's a link to her office. And she has podcasts, and she also has a site, which is www.andreaschneiderlcsw.com. Go check her out. For those of you that are in different areas, this right here goes to show that when you're struggling like that, and when you're triggered, when people start telling the truth and highlighting, and it makes you feel uncomfortable, and you're in denial, and you're in defense, you're defending the individual, and you're fighting, but I see, and you're justifying the behavior. It's time for you to go and talk to a trauma professional. A lot of you guys, can't get out. You don't know where to go. You can't find one in your local area. If you go, there's a link underneath my YouTube channel, and it is a sponsored link for me, and it's BetterHelp.com/Dr. Carmen. You can vet counselors, trauma, look for trauma professionals. Trauma professionals, those that specialize in post-traumatic stress, parental alienation, severe psychological abuse, and then ask them if they understand, you can talk to them and ask them. I think the first week is free. It's a very nominal fee. If you're going through financial problems, they also give you a discounted rate, but at least you have a counselor you can talk to via Skype, online, I think telephonically, and you get to talk to them in the comfort of your own home or the privacy of your office. No one is going to know. It is private. No one has to know, but it's a low fee, for those of you that can't afford coaching, but you can, a lot of times you guys are registered to different sites that they charge you every month to be on, but this is an investment in your healing. This is an investment of getting you free of the torment that you have been in, and then the residue that is in your mind and in your heart. You got to get rid of the residue, and you have to heal. Some of you are so hurt and so bitter that you don't ever want to be in another relationship. But think about it. You could be a perfect fit for someone, and you've been in a relationship where you think that they've ruined you. But now someone who deserves someone like you, is not getting the chance to meet you because you totally cut people off. I'm not saying jump right back into a relationship. What I'm saying is go through your healing process, because a lot of times when you're in a position like that, I don't want to date anybody. No, because you're in a healing process. But it's good to have a mentor, to have a coach, or have a counselor, especially a counselor involved in your life to help you through that process of healing. Somebody deserves someone like you, and I don't mean the trauma part, but someone deserves someone like you. Someone really is a good fit for you, and you are a good fit for them. Don't let these experiences, because we have been connected to people that had narcissistic personality disorder, or were toxic, or maybe didn't have narcissism and were just abusive, and we were connected to these individuals, and our self-esteem was affected, our self-worth was affected, and the kids, children are too young to really understand, and like you give information and we can kind of register that information. So imagine what they go through, because the narcissist trauma bonds them, ghosts them, say one thing, I love you, and then don't show up, or don't give them a gift, or everything that they say is totally opposite than what they do. And you have these kids that love their parents, their hopes are high. So imagine what the cognitive dissonance is for a child. If you are wounded like you are wounded, and some of you are so deeply hurt, imagine a little child, or child, is growing up and they feel rejected and abandoned. They're hurt. You don't love. They grow up that way. Some of you understand what I'm talking about because you were that child. So hopefully this has helped you. Thank you so.
Who love y'all to death? Who love y'all to death? Charlie B do his research for y'all. Y'all ain't got to do nothing. Just wait on me. I got you. I got you. What y'all just hear? Did she break it all the way down? Yes. And the messed up part is, what did I tell y'all? Jump back. That mobile home is only so big. You think they ain't in there talking about us, Peanut Gang? You see what she had to say about the boys? It's not good, man. It's not good, brother. So Charlie B gonna get out of here and go see my mama again. Get her bedded down and everything. I'll be back in the morning because, my mama set in her ways. Get out my house. You've been here all day. I'm going to bed. Why you need to see me sleep? That's Mama T. Hey, I'm gone. But, she's still up right now. And I said I was going to probably do grid down tonight, y'all. But she ain't feeling it tonight. She ain't feeling it. All she wanted to do was go out to eat. And, Charlie B, I'm not 10. I'm going to hand him a minute. I'm going to make it do what it do, baby. You feel me? So, Charlie B out. I love y'all. Thank y'all for all y'all prayers and everything like that. She was ready to do it, y'all. But after we went out to eat and she had to walk out to the car, walk in the restaurant, walk out to all that, she was tired and she was like, I can't do it. Be gone. Okay. So, all she want to do, this might sound crazy to a lot of people, but all she want to do is play some Tunk tonight before she go to bed. And if y'all don't know what Tunk is, it's a card game with 5 cards. Okay. So I love y'all. Y'all be easy. I'm out.